Hey, peace and blessings to you. My name is Jerry B. I am the EntreMusician, and so are you. And so is this wonderful brother we're about to introduce you to. I'm telling you, he's 4,000 miles away. We call him the George Clinton of Serbia. This is Nenad C, and he has a great band called Numismatica. He's full of funk, soul, and jazz. What's up, brother? How you doing, man?
Oh, fine. I'm great. Thank you for having me on this show. I'm really thrilled. So, you know, from the bottom of my heart, I really thank you. Not only for this, but for whatever you're doing with EntreMusician. I think that's a huge step forward to all of us who are a bit older, about seniors, but, still having it in us to do what you should be done.
Well, you're doing it, man, and you're doing it hard. I'm so happy to have you on the show. I got a ton of questions for you, so I hope you have your seatbelts on. First of all, I really do love your music. I think we may be about the same age. We grew up listening to the same stuff. It
Yeah.
really is apparent in your music. But you got to tell me, first of all, we're on two different time zones, so it's in the early afternoon, but it's late evening where you are. Is that right?
It's 9:30 p.m. So, evening. Yeah.
And so, what part of Serbia are you in?
Well, I'm in Belgrade, that's capital of Serbia. The largest city, one of the largest city on South and East Europe, like 2 million people, something like that. So that's where I'm living for 20 something years. I was born in the southern city, Niš. That's the third major city in Serbia. But I moved like 20 something years ago to Belgrade. Better opportunities for living and for doing whatever I do, and that was it. And then my daughter was born here, so and so I'm stuck in Belgrade.
That's excellent. That's excellent. Well, I want you to know before we get started that our hearts do go out to you and to your country. Recently, you all suffered a tragedy, much like we did several weeks before here in the United States. But we're praying for you, praying
Thank
for
you.
the citizens there. Man, our hearts do go out to you. And I want to thank you because you are an entre musician and you shared from your heart with us when we gather on Sunday nights. So thank you for being so personable, brother.
Yeah, thank you. It's a pleasure because you know the actual musician is uh, on Sunday evening. It's just like meeting with a great friends. So for me, it's an enjoyment to be with you, with all of you.
Well, thank you. We love having you, man. That's what the entre musician community is all about, is building and strengthening. And it's good to know that we can go across the pond and become a more global community too. That's really good for us.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm really thrilled and proud to be part of that musician society because I really think that helps me a lot, and I'm trying to help others with my knowledge and to exchange, the info, the knowledge, and everything that's so rare today. And I know one of the best things that happened with my musician life for I don't know for decades now, becoming a metal musician.
Oh, that's fantastic. Well, I got to tell you, again, your discography, you have like 9 different albums. You have some new stuff that's coming out. And as a matter of fact, May 1st, I believe, you introduced a new single called In the Morning. And we want to talk
Yeah.
about that. But I'd love to know, first and foremost, how you got started in music before you put this awesome band together. We're going to talk about that. But how old were you? What happened? When did you decide this is my life? You know?
Well, I don't know. First, when I grew up, there was music all the time in my house. My mother, when she was a girl, she used to be a lead singer for big band or jazz big band orchestra in Niš, and so she was singing all the time. My father was doing some records also on the side, so the music was part of my growing up. And then at the age of 8, 9, I can't remember anymore. The parents decided that I should have a proper music education, and they signed me to music school where I was taught piano, playing piano, and singing and everything else. And like it was almost like I don't know. I don't know how the life looks without music because literally it has been a part of my life for I don't know 50 years. Yeah, all my life basically. And at the age of 14, I thought, well, this is, that was the time of post-punk, like bands like Talking Heads, Perry B, Ramones, and so on from United States or from Great Britain. There were, I don't know, Clash, the Banshees, the Bunnymen, Joy Division. And I was just a kid and it was like, oh, this is awesome. I don't have to know to play that well. I just have to have ideas. And I started a band. And fortunately or unfortunately for me, with my first band and with my first songs that I wrote, we won a battle of bands. First one, another one, and I was like a 14-year-old kid, and it was like, well, I'm becoming a local legend just literally as a kid, and from there on, it was like for another, I don't know, 15, 16, 70 years, music was the center of my life, of what I did. And then life took me some other places, and in 1996, 7, something like that, I stopped playing music due to very, very different reasons. Stopped playing music, stopped making music altogether. I made a different career. I went to the media, became TV host and whatnot. And but whatever I was doing, I felt that something is lacking in my life, and I wasn't happy simply. And then after a few personal turmoils, I started writing music again. And in 2017, I was back and suddenly I felt alive again. Like yes, this is it. This is what I am. I mean, I can't live without this. I know how to do this well.
Yeah.
Somebody else will say, okay, this is not good or this is good, but I know how to do it. I know I have all the skills. I have the knowledge. I know how to write a song. So this is what I want to do.
Yes.
And during that period from 2017 to 2020 to start to the starting of pandemic or the COVID, I literally was with 4 bands playing absolutely different music from alternative rock to electro dark to I don't know to ethnotronica and so on. And with COVID, I started thinking about doing something really solo as a solo project because no gigs, no nothing, everybody staying home due to lockdowns and so on. And
Right.
then I came to that idea of Nenad C and Numismatica and to that whole concept and whole project, the Boogie Man, which I released as an album in 2021, in late November 2021. And the whole project should be a book also and an animated movie also, but it's on a large scale, so I'm doing it all together, step by step, while making new music and preparing some new albums. But okay, we will do that later. I think that this bio is enough for beginning.
Hmm. Well, that's an interesting story, and I talked to a lot of entre musicians who, they once they discover this is the journey I'm going to be on, something happens personally or spiritually or emotionally where they're in a position where they kind of stop and don't do music for a while, and then once that fire is reignited, they go, yeah, this is where I should have been all along.
Yeah,
So it's
yeah,
like a soul
absolutely,
searching. You know what I mean?
absolutely.
And
I
did
mean,
you walk right back into it? I was really interested, however, in when you brought up the Boogeyman Project because I read the story. You have that on your website, and
yeah.
you did all of the music, all of the singing, and everything. And was that I know it was written during the 2020 shutdown, but was that a part of the soul searching as well that was going on?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, uh, well, in that period of life when I was not doing music, I was engaged in news programming on TV. And, uh, doing that, you're kind of, and I was specialized as a foreign affairs analyst. So doing all that kind of things, you're filled with a lot of info of what is going on around the world. And you know, I'm not a politician. I'm not interested in that way in politics. I'm dealing with social issues all the time, and my music is constantly with my lyrics. I'm trying to point out the social issues that we have around the globe because at the moment the whole world is in turmoil, literally. And you know, we have uh, fascism in rise in Europe. There is a racism in rise in the United States. We have ever growing up inequalities, never unprecedented in the modern history. Because you know, at this point, 30 million people are below poverty line in the United States as the richest country in the world. And at the same time, you have five of 10 most, the 5 of 10 richest people in the world coming from America. So, you know, something is definitely wrong. And it's not politics. I'm just speaking about social issues. You can't have at the richest country in the world 30 million people literally starving, not knowing how it make the ends meet from the first to the first, from the paycheck to the paycheck, and five of the most richest people in the world. Something is wrong there. So basically, what the boogeyman is about those inequalities and the problems that we face around the globe now with this neoliberal capitalism that you know is I can't say, but ruining everything just in the search for money. You know, they're like ruining morality, ruining the nature and everything, just chasing the profit. If we continue chasing the profit, we'll be gone as a human race. There will be no place for us at the moment. So the Boogeyman Project was uh, coming from me, from within me. I'm an artist, and what can I do? I can't start a revolution. I'm not a revolutionary guy. I'm not a politician. I'm not a union leader or whatever. But I'm an artist, so I can say in my arts what I think about what is going on at the moment around the globe. The whole world is suffering the same thing, literally. It's the inequalities, the poverty, the instability. You don't know you will you have the job tomorrow? Will you have the enough money to cure yourself if you get ill or whatever? So around the globe, that's the same situation, and that's what the boogeyman is about. What is going on, and what shall we do or can we do? You know, to stop all of that, to turn the world to the point where we will be all happy living in it.
Certainly. Well, let me ask, because you certainly used this project coming from an artistic expression, a place of artistic expression. But the thing is, I think you say on your website that your music or your influences are really based in what you grew up listening to from the 70s and the 80s. And I think the way that you did the Boogeyman Project, the reason I referenced George Clinton early on, is because Parliament Funkadelic had a lot of themed albums. You know, this album was
Yeah,
about that album was about this. There was
yeah.
another group called Bloodstone, and they went, the Riddle of the Sphinx was from the birth to the death of a person, and so I think you drew from that pretty well. But what I don't know was that intentional, or is just because you were an artist, like this is the best way to express where I'm at this time.
Well, it is intentional, you know, because in the 70s especially, and I was getting connected with the music during the 70s. I was a kid, but you know that was what was going on. You did have that idea that album is a conceptual piece, you know, like although I drew from you know like Ziggy Stardust was from David Bowie, or Selling England by a Pound from Genesis, or something like that. And of course, Mothership Connection and everything that goes from Parliament Funkadelic. So they all were bound to tell some story. There's not a collection of songs, but they had a theme, and they were trying to tell that theme the best way they can. So it was some sort of way coded in my music ethos to produce not a single. Okay, single is a single. You need to have a good song that can stand alone, but to tell the story. And I'm always trying to tell the story this way or another, so that all albums that I did had some theme that simply connected all the songs in one place. Just never wanted to make an album just like a collection of singles. So I have 5 singles. Okay, it's time to put them on one place, and it was not fulfilled for me.
That's if I may ask, because you're going to turn us down a different street I hadn't planned on going, which is cool. But I'm mid 50s. Is that where you
Yeah.
are? Mid
Yeah,
50s.
I'm 57. Yeah. So,
So yeah, so we're the same age. I'm 58. You're 57. So here we are. And I agree with everything that you just said. So when I look at the marketing for
yeah.
today, and the focus solely is on the single, there,
Yeah.
it's almost like you can throw the concept of an album or a concept, a whole thought. You can just toss that to the side and make singles because that's where the industry is. I think personally, personally, I think that there's something wrong with that from an artistic standpoint, that you are
Absolutely.
reduced to what's hot, what's new, what's trending, and we don't get to see you as the entire artist that you are. Do you agree or disagree with that?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because the streaming services uh, are really a shifting point with the industry. Since the streaming services took the music industry, considering the audience, everything was turned upside down. And just as an example, so Kate Bush, which I admire for her work in the late 70s and the early 80s, or she stopped her career because she wanted to be a mother, so on. Never mind. So one of her songs, "Running Up That Hill," from the album from 1982 or 1983 or something like that, uh, was played in some very popular TV series. I don't watch TV, so I don't know which one, but very very highly popular. So that song, "Running Up That Hill," turned to 1 billion streams. The next song from the same album from the same artist is below 50 million, and we're talking about Kate Bush. So a whole generation of kids just listen to that song because of the popular TV show, and they're not interested who the artist is, what that album is from, which album is that from, what year, nothing. It is just the consumerism at its purest. And especially the other thing that is happening, and that really it devastates even the idea of single, is that musicians find out that Spotify pays you after 40 seconds of streaming. So I literally found out a bunch of playlists, not a bunch, thousands and thousands of playlists with nothing but a minute and a half or 2 minutes of nothing. Literally nothing. You got a band who's just, okay, we will play something, and they play something for 1 minute and a half or 2 minutes, and they call it a song. No lyrics, no melody, no tune, no nothing. But they will get paid because somebody will literally play, or it will during the shuffle, or algorithm will just put them to their playlist, that they will go on and on and on and on until they found out there's nothing on that playlist. But the guy earned some money because he put a song on it. So we're literally living in the destruction of music, of popular music as an art form. And I totally agree with you. It's absolutely wrong from the artistic point of view. And also, audience is going to be fed up with that.
Yeah.
At one point, they will start to seek for another meaningful song. They will be touched by emotion. They will be touched by lyrics or something like that, because this is literally empty. I don't know, music form. I can't even name it, because what I'm hearing at the moment on Spotify and I don't know, iTunes and so on, it's literally nothing. Just some sort of sounds at the same moment played for a minute and a half or 2 minutes. So that's it.
Yes. No, I absolutely agree. And a new whole form of songwriting was forged from the streaming services. You're absolutely right. I think that Kanye, one of the albums that he did, it was specifically that there was no song on there that I think went over 2 minutes and 30 seconds. And,
Yeah.
again, coming back from a certain generation where strong song structure was important in the sense that there was an introduction, there was a verse, there was a pre-chorus, a chorus, a bridge, a melody structure, an instrumental break. I mean, it was an experience. You actually walked through this journey of this 4.5 minute, maybe longer, but this 4.5 minute illustration of life, whether it was joy or pain or heartache or despair or just dancing for the heck of it. It was really still a moment that grabbed you, allowed you to escape from wherever you were and to step into another world that the artist was creating for you. And you're right. I think that the audience is going to grow tired of just the 90 seconds of whatever this is, and they're going to
Yeah.
want something with more meaning. So the pendulum is going to, just swing the other
Because
way. That's my
I
thought.
believe that, any art and music especially, because it's intangible. When you see a picture, you can touch it, but with music, nothing. It's just an air that vibrates around you, and that is the greatest medium for invoking emotions. So that's what music should do, whether it's joy, whether it's sadness, whether it's I don't know, but if, as I said, when you just want to jump around and dance, but that's an emotion, and unless the music doesn't bring that emotion into the audience, it's not music and it's not art, and it's the very moment that it touches your soul, it becomes art.
Right.
And that's my point of view, and I'm making music from that point of view. I can't lie myself and say, okay, this is what the industry wants, this is what the audience wants, I will do that. No, I won't, because that's wrong. I will do what I think deeply inside that it is right.
My mind. Yes,
Yeah,
I applaud you for that because
yeah,
again, it's so let's walk down another street because both you and I know this from you personally. We were both writing For Sync. Okay, and
yeah,
so we took the course, and you understand that Sync wants a certain thing, and the one coach that advised me on sync writing was the fact that you have to be unemotional about this because if you're going to write a song that as an artist that you love, then you need to put that in another file, right?
yeah,
Because what the music supervisor or the producer or the director may want doesn't have to have an emotional attachment, and you put all of these hours into it and they're going to take the 16 seconds for the cue. So I've learned to subdivide myself to say, okay, well, this is the business aspect or the
yeah,
asset for this particular film or TV show or what have you, but this is Jerry, and so this has to
yeah,
come and be put over here so that I can release it in a different way as an artist. So that's
yeah.
part of being an
Yeah, but
entre musician
that's
too, of learning how to juggle.
yeah, but that is the difference, because the music that you do for singing is literally just like a sort of craftsmanship, not an art. So yes, you do need to have a craft. You do need to know how to play instruments, how to do arrangements, and so on. But that's a craftsmanship. This scene needs some tension. How can I produce some tension? And then you pick, like uh, staccato violins or whatever, and you have the tension, but you're not doing it emotionally. And I totally agree, but that's a different kind of story. And I'm not going to put that on my album, because that's not who I am really. I'm just doing it for that purpose. Again, being a part of an overall artistic process, because director needs that kind of music, because he envisioned his that scene and his movie in
Right.
that way. So I'm just a complementary part of his idea.
That's right.
So nothing wrong with that.
No,
I'm not feeling that I'm selling myself by doing that. No, I'm just making a contribution to some other's artistic idea the
Absolutely.
best way I can.
Absolutely. As long as you don't freak out and get too emotional about it because it's not your
Yeah.
vision. but but tell me if you wouldn't mind about, we're talking about albums and concepts. You have this new album out called The Living Soul. So take us into that adventure. What is that about?
Well, basically, that album is a part of some sort of loose trilogy. I'm trying to make um, I don't know, a gratitude to show my gratitude to the music I really dig and love, and that's soul, funk, and jazz. So I decided to make three albums at the same time. Literally, they're in different stages of production at the moment, and I'm working on all of them. Living Soul will be the first one that goes out. I do hope I will finish it by the end of the June, but it's not everything in my power because there will be some other people involved. Not all similarly to the Boogie Man, I did almost everything, but I will have now a female back vocals on some of the songs and so on. And so the first part of that trilogy, of that loose trilogy, is Living Soul, and that's my tribute to the soul music of the early '70s that I really love. That I think that is one of the greatest moments in call it rock and roll or popular music or whatever, that produced so many great artists, so many great music, great songs in any aspects, from tunes to lyrics to arrangements. And that's my tribute to that music, and my perception of that music, how would I do soul, not the soul that is called now the soul, because when I put nowadays, like 2020 is soul, and I put that and I said, where's the soul in this, like no soul in it at all. So the very the soul that we grew up, you and I grew up with, that. So that's that album, that Living Soul, and the first single. So I just wanted to do an announcement of the album. So I decided to watch the opening song of the album, which is called In the Morning, just to release a bit earlier, so that whoever wants to hear it and wants to be involved with it, and in any other way, could hear what the album is about and how does it sound in general. So hopefully the Living Soul will be done by the end of June, I think, so before the summer begins. The second part of the trilogy is called Fundamentally, and that's my tribute again to that electro boogie sound of the early '80s, like Roger and the Zep, like early Prince, and so on. Uh, and the third part, that I hope to finish it, because all the songs are already recorded. Most of them are finished by arrangement, so I need a few lyrics here and there, and just to sing them and so on, to do, of course, to do the mixing and everything else. And the final thing that will be the part of the trilogy is called Jazzabella, and as the title said, so Jezebel is the term for the ladies in the 20s and 30s who were into jazz music. So
Yeah.
it was like a good idea for me to call the album Jezebella, and it is going to be instrumental. It's going to be jazz, of course. And I'm doing an interesting experiment, if I may say now, if that's okay with you, about the Jezebella. It's 6 months from now to be released, but for me, thinking about jazz is always like there are three pillars of jazz. One is freedom. The first one is freedom. The second one is improvisation. And the third one is experiment. So when you put all those three things together, you get the essence of jazz.
Wow.
So what I'm doing with the Jazzabella as a sort of experiment, so I described Living Soul is a soul, Fundamental is electro boogie, and what I'm doing with Jazzabella is total experiment. Like I just made basic harmonies and basic beats, and I send them to different musicians from different countries, different cities, and they don't know about each other, and all of them will play what they think they should be playing. Like the bass player is going to play what he thinks improvised, so he has all the freedom, all the improvisation, all the experiment he wants to do with that with his instrument regarding of what will the sax player will play, or trumpet player will play, or I don't know, keyboard player will play. Regardless of that, he's going to do his own thing. And the keyboard player is going to do his own thing, not knowing what the others are doing. And all of them are just going to do their own thing, not knowing what the others are doing. And then I'm going to collect all those recordings and put them, and then I'm going to cut, paste, reorder, and so on to do my own improvisation and experiment with their tracks. And I'm so thrilled about that idea. I can't wait because they are working already, but I'm just I can't ask them, just sitting and waiting for the first tracks to come in and to start gathering, but I'm really thrilled about that idea.
That's fantastic. That sounds like Sun Ra on steroids, you know. Remember the artist Sun Ra, and just the whole
Yeah,
free jazz movement. And so, you're going to take all of these tracks, and uh, organize the schizophrenia, but that's what free jazz is, though.
yeah, totally.
Organized chaos. Well, tell me, because that brings us into a great segue, because you've put together an incredible band, Numismatica. And I want to
Yeah,
ask you about the meaning of that, because when I looked it up, it was the study of or the collection of coins or currency. And I don't
yeah,
know if that's what you meant and why you named the band that, but you have these 11 amazing men and women, which is another reason I call you, George Clinton of Serbia, because it's a big band, funk band, and really you guys have a great heartbeat. So tell me about Numismatica, how it formed, why you named it the way you did, who were some of the personnel involved, and other than this Jazzabella coming up, what's your plan for the future for this band?
yeah. Well, the idea of the name numismatica, basically numismatica are precious coins from the past. So they are rare and precious, not ordinary coins that you collect, but from Roman Empire to I don't know, Middle Ages or something like that. So they are precious coins. They are rarely found and they're very expensive. So when I thought of numismatica, well, yes, this is something from the past, and it is precious for me, and it is rare. So numismatica sounds, quite because I first coined the name and then I gathered the band. So it was like, okay, this sounds to me like this is okay. This is the name for the band. This is something for me rare, valuable, and meaningful. And I had a lot of help from a few friends of mine back in my town where I was born. All the musicians are from that city, uh, who helped me get a great band. Because I was booked I was booked for a gig at Nashville Jazz Festival, and I didn't have a band. So it was like, oh my! I mean, now I need to find a band.
Right
But
now.
but it turned out that one thing led to another, and then I first met Bojan Mladenovic, the keyboard player, and he's like on PhD in chamber music, and then from that on we together started gathering one musician after another, and they're great jazz musicians, all of them. Like the trumpet player, he finished in the Jazz Academy in Austria, and so on. So all of them are musically trained. They all know how to read notes, and that was very important to me because we were so tight on schedule for the gig that if they didn't know how to play the notes that they had to play by ear, it would take ages. It was important. So I did all the score sheets. They had all the score sheets, and they were rehearsing at their homes. One, curiosity. Uh, there were 11 of us. We didn't have a single rehearsal that we were all together
Wow.
because it was like impossible at that time to get us all together. So we had separate rehearsals, bass and drums, vocals, trumpets, horns, and so on. And the first time we ever got together was on the sound check. And even then, the keyboard player had to leave. One of them. So, so it was like My God, we're playing this evening, and this is the first time that we're 11 of us all together. But they're really great musicians. They really dig the whole project. They really dig the whole idea. And we really, during those month and a half that we were rehearsing, it was like all the time there was a good vibe, the positive vibe. You know, all of them did their best. Really, they were rehearsing at home. They were learning at home the score sheets, the music that they should play. So it was like such a good vibe that when we get on that stage, from the very second, it blew from us the energy and whatnot. So literally, and the audience was stuck like, what is this now? Because there was so much energy going from the stage to the audience, and I enjoyed every minute of it really. So that's uh, that's what happened. Now what I'm planning to do is now I'm trying to get some more gigs, but being us 11, and I'm not going to back up on that. It's going to be 11 on us or of us, or I'm not going to play because I'm not going to make compromises on my art or my music. So I'm trying to get gigs. Mainly at this moment, I'm trying to get jazz festivals around Europe because they have them budget and we're not expensive, meaning that yes we are 11, but not some kind of names that will, I don't know, search for $100,000 or stuff like that. We're quite modest. So I'm trying to get gigs at the jazz festivals at the moment as more as I can, so in that will lead, I hope, people will just hear us, see us, and if they dig us, they will come later again, and then we can make our own shows. But I'm not. I am 57, but I'm not in a rush. I plan to do this until I'm 85 or something like that. So whenever it happens, I just want to do it properly, the way I feel it should be done, and to be honest to myself. And as long as the artist is honest to himself and not trying to make any compromises, then he's bound to success. That he cannot fail.
My God.
That's my opinion. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I don't
No,
know.
it's a beautiful opinion. And that's why you are my friend and entree musician, because
Yeah,
it
thank
is
you.
about being honest. And as you know, our platform is not specifically, but more exclusively geared to those in this age bracket because of that. Because of
Yeah,
our life experience, because of the fact that we may not be where we want to be on the trajectory, but we're not running like mad to get there. We're going to do what it takes, but be honest and transparent in the journey. This is how I
yeah,
feel, and this is how we put one step in front of the other to make it happen. I I
yeah.
applaud you.
And thank you.
Honest.
And that journey is the greatest thing. You know, the, when you do a song, it's just the final product. You can be emotionally attached to it and so on. But while you're doing it, that's the thrill. That's the best part of everything. I'm creating a music. Oh, this sound and this sound and this tune and this go. The bass goes with bass drums like this. That journey, making the music, that journey, creating everything around that is the point. Is the true enjoyment in what I do. At least for me, I can't speak for others. I can speak only for me and myself. So for me, that journey, creating music, rehearsing the music, going to a gig, everything after that, just a final product. But the journey to that final product should and is amazing, at least for me.
No, you're absolutely right. I absolutely agree with you.
Thank you.
Definitely. And so I want to ask another question with respect to, people who are watching or listening to this and could be curious about life as a musician in Serbia with respect to distribution of music, with respect to copywriting, with respect to how business is done. We see the streaming services, but we see that online. But are there different restrictions or guidelines or anything for doing your music business in Serbia that's so different from us in the United States?
Yeah, well, a lot of things are quite different. Starting with the first with the idea that it's a small country with 7.5 million people. So the market is really really small. Of course, there are countries in the region that we speak a similar language, like Croatia, Bosnia, Montenegro, even Bulgaria, and Macedonia. So you can enlarge that audience, but throughout the region there is some sort of music that is really special for that region, and that kind of music is successful, meaning that a lot of people wants to listen to that, and it doesn't have anything to do with rock and roll or with funk, with soul, with anything that is barely connected to the popular music that's in the Western world.
I
It's
see.
sort of Oriental sounding, and that kind of music is extremely popular even with the young. The Western kind of music, let me call it like that, like rock and roll and so on, used to have a lot of audience while we were while we were in one country, the Yugoslavia. That was the country where I was born and where I lived until it broke up in a bloody war. So after that, and nowadays, people who play rock and roll, alternative music, any kind of other music, can't live by playing music. Literally, they have to do anything else, and then they can do that on a side as a hobby or as a passion or whatever. But there is no audience, and the media especially are not going to play it for various reasons. So basically, you're limited to what you can do with social networks, where you can promote your music and so on. So that's one thing. The other thing is that considering the rights, the copyrights, again, because there are only small publishers at the moment in Serbia, you can't sell more than, I don't know, 500 CDs or whatever, literally. So nobody's nobody's thinking about that, and the whole world of so speaking of that kind of Western music, basically it's a friend of a friend of a friend, and we're going to our gigs and we're playing and so on and so on. So basically, that kind of music is dying. This at Serbia, and I don't know, maybe 10,000 people in the whole country is listening to that kind of music at the moment, as they should. All others are listening to that Oriental kind of stuff, and I'm not into it. I don't really like it, and I think it's
Yeah.
rubbish. But that's my opinion.
Yeah.
So basically, that's the situation. And of course, around the Europe is also quite different than the United States because the regulations are different, the terminology is different. So you can get to it's tougher in the United States than it is in Europe. In the United States, you are literally absolutely on your own. Here, there's still some of the institutions that can help you this way or another, or although they're less and less, not as it is not as it is used to be in the 90s or the beginning of the millennia. Now the economic crisis is everywhere, so it's not good even here. But you can still do something, with the things that state, the government, or local authorities will help you in a way that you can make a festival, as I was saying, and the local authorities will tell you, okay, we will give you, I don't know, $100,000 to help you because that is art. You don't have to do it all by yourself, and so on. So basically, there's still a niche that you can do with your music in Europe, unlike in the United States, where you're literally on your own, regardless of whether you're a musician or a producer or organizer of festivals or whatever. You have to make money out of it. In Europe, you can still do that as an art, not as it was like 30 years ago, but you can still find those little cracks in the system that could help
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you sharing that with us because we are trying to learn about each other's culture, how we can help each other, how we can stand by, and even opening up opportunities for collaboration. So we need to know how that works
Yeah.
worldwide, and not just from New York and Los Angeles or Chicago and Tennessee. You
Yeah,
know what I mean?
well, there is you can Google it, but there is a website that all jazz festivals in Europe are on, and you can literally get all the contacts on that site with all the proper emails for the persons who is in charge for each festival. So you can basically apply and that you're okay. This is me, for instance. This is Jerry B. This is my music. I'm doing it so and so. So are you interested in me having you being at your festival? Do you want me? And they're like in Europe. I think that there are about 500 jazz festivals during the year. So it's all so they vary from 1 day to 5 day festivals. Like Nashville Jazz Festival is a 4 day festival. So it's the largest jazz festival in the region, and it was voted the best jazz festival in Europe like 5 or 6, 7 years ago. It's a huge festival, really. So there are huge festivals, but there are also mid-range and low-range festivals where everybody can find their place. So basically, worth of trying, especially when you're coming from United States. So you can try and check those festivals, check that site. So I can't have it in my mind. I don't have it in my mind at the moment, but just Google it, Europe Jazz Festivals, and literally you can get gigs like connected. Okay, I will play now in Poland. Then 3 days later, I will play in, I don't know, Germany. 3 days later, I can play in Italy. So you can make it worthwhile financially because they will say, okay, we can split the costs of your coming to Europe because you're playing several gigs, and you can also lower your demand on the money because you're playing several gigs. So basically, that's something you can do, especially from I don't know June to September, October. There are a lot of festivals around the Europe, so worth trying for all the people who are into jazz, funk, soul, or whatnot from the United States.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that information. I have one final question for you, and I always call it the unasked question because you've done interviews before and you've been in the media. So you may have thought when we set up this interview that there was something that I was going to ask you. I know Jerry's going to ask me this question, and you're ready for the answer, but I haven't asked it. So perhaps there's something that you wanted to share with the audience, and I didn't even get to it. So, how would you answer the unasked question?
Well, there is one unanswered question I'm constantly asking myself, and that is how in the world am I thinking that coming from Serbia, with everything now is going on, I can make an international career? And I don't have an answer for that. I just want to do that. You know,
Yes.
you know, you I'm literally asking myself that again and again and again. Like, are you nuts? What are you doing? I mean, okay, you like making music, but really, what are you doing? And I said, okay, but who knows? Maybe. I mean, I met you. So that's a huge step in my life, okay?
Yeah.
Jerry B, I met EntreMusician, I became EntreMusician, and I said, wow, somebody opened a door for me, and there's so many things in this room that I will take a few years just to check everything out. So that's a great thing. And, but hopefully, step by step by step by step, I will get there where I want to be. But at the moment, that's an unasked question, and unfortunately, unanswered one. So, at least for me.
Absolutely. Well, it just takes one person at a time, man. One step at a time,
Yeah.
one person, one situation. The way the Entre Musician formed, I mean, I didn't know that it was going to grow as organically as it has and expand the way it has expanded. But it just started with one conversation. One conversation led to another one, and there you go. So
Yeah.
now we know each other. Now we are brothers in arms, and who we may be introduced to that makes the circle even larger. We just go with it.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
Well, I'm certainly very thankful, Nenad, that you have come on to the Entre Musician, that you are an Entre Musician, that you've been part of this platform. Also, coming up, this interview will happen before that other platform, but you've also appeared on our sister show called Artist Impact. And I believe the other gentleman, Rick Derman, he's from Germany, so that's like our international show right there. So that was fun, and that will be airing soon on another platform and station. But man, you're really getting your your roots down into what the Entre Musician is all about. So I'm grateful to you. I'm grateful for your music, for your artistry, for Numismatica, the band that you've put together, and the projects that you'll be doing this summer, man. Many blessings to you and peace.
Thank you, Jenny. I'm thrilled to know you, and I'm thrilled for everything you're doing with EntreMusician. I think that you know you have such an energy, and you're such a focus. I really admire. So, thank you for letting me become EntreMusician. Thank you for having me on this podcasts, and hope to see you very soon on a Sunday.
Absolutely. Well, I tell you what, man, we will get down on Sunday, but for the rest of you, you got to check out Nenad C and Numismatica. You have to check them out. We will put all of the information in the show notes. Go to them right now. And if you love funk, if you love soul, if you love jazz, if you are a student of the 70s and 80s, that's where this brother's coming from. And check out his lyrics. They are very transformative. He speaks from his heart, and that's hard to go by nowadays. So definitely buy his music and merch. You are listening and watching the Entre Musician. My name is Jerry B. I'm an Entre Musician. That was Nenad. He's an Entre Musician. But the most important part, you know what I'm going to say? The most important part is, so are you. And you join us at the EntreMusician.com. We will see you again next time. Peace and blessings to you.